that's true. Naked Palpatine.
Oh, you pick that one. Fresh out of the clone tank, nude Palpatine is my
Well, that's the first thing I think of when you say Dark Empire Palpatine. Hello, everybody. I'll be moving soon. Now, by the time you're watching this, I definitely already have. But as it stands, got boxes, stuff. So this has been the new place for a bit. The new recording room, I guess. Today, I have for you the fourth book. Arguably the best book. Supposedly so. One of the best. In the Wheel of Time series, The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. Listen, I went into this knowing that people absolutely adore this series. And I've tried very hard to never be somebody who is needlessly cruel or rude or mean. I've tried very hard. Oh, not again, my goodness. I've tried very hard in my life to be a very kind and considerate person. I don't always succeed. I'm not perfect, but I try. That being said, I have to also be honest. I mean, right? YouTube is broadcast yourself, right? At least it was back in the day. Now it's everything. It's late night shows and this and that. Not really about the small time people like it used to be. All that to say, I'm never gonna lie to you. I'm never gonna pretend to love or hate something for the sake of views. I won't do it. I will read all these books. And I will give my opinion on each of them individually, and then I will give my opinion on the series as a whole once I've gone through the entire ordeal. Because I paid for all of them. So I'm not going to waste my money by not reading them. But also, I cannot lie to you and say that this has not felt like homework. I read the Malazan Book of the Fallen, which most of those books are longer than Wheel of Time. I finished some of those books, like Midnight Tides, which may be about the same length as this book, in like a week, because I could not put it down. Every free moment I had was dedicated to that book. This took me 3 weeks, because every opportunity I had to read it, I wanted to do something else. Again, the one benefit to YouTube videos, which has really kept me going with my reading journey, as I've gotten back into reading during COVID back in 2021, was even if I didn't enjoy something, I could at least express my thoughts somewhere to the ether that is the internet, which is what has always pushed me to get through something, even if I wasn't particularly enjoying it. It is really sad because I don't wish to be negative, and I want to love this series to death. I mean, so many people adore it, and there are moments in here where I absolutely see and understand why. It's like asking for a full meal, right? But then when I get the plate, it is like a ratatouille dish where it's just square in the middle. Now, I know rich people are used to that, but for me, when I ask for a plate of food, I want a plate of food. For me, and I know it's sort of subjective, the biggest issue I have with all of these books so far has been pacing. There is no reason that this story needed to be almost 1,000 pages. There's just simply not enough there. If there was great, amazing character building in every section that wasn't plot related, we'd have something there. And to an extent, it's there, but it's never grand enough of a change in order to really keep it going. Everything with Rand, everything with Matt, everything with Perrin is relatively subtle. I mean, the biggest changes in this book are probably, I mean, everybody kind of transitions and grows in this book in particular, but the way about getting to all of these things takes so long. And I'm trying to put my finger on why it just seems so unnecessary to be so long. I mean, we set up what is happening in this book pretty fairly early on into the plot, and then we just meander our way to the end where stuff actually, like, truly happens. And I know that's a mischaracterization. I know stuff is happening throughout, but it's not particularly... I'm not invested like I want to be. And so I have like 50% of this, like the ending, where I'm like, yes, slaps, this is great, this is amazing. And then I have another 50% where I'm like, I'm reading this and it's homework. And I don't want it to be like that. But so far, this is how it's felt. And this is supposedly one of the best. And there's going to be a slog later? If this isn't a slog, then what are those later books? That being said, I see the brilliance, the story within the pages. There's gold within it. But surrounding it is all this dirt and grime that I have to get to enjoy it. I watched a recap video after the fact of the whole plot. Really good. Those 30 minutes it took to recap all that, as compared to the 900 pages I had to wallow through to get there. And I want to love the series. I'm hoping that by the time I reach, Memories of Light, that I'll just have this epiphany. I'll just like, it was all worth it in the end, and I'll understand. To an extent, I'm already getting to the point where I feel like when people say like, the wheel time is better than the sum of its parts, they are really looking at the long game, right? They're looking at the whole picture as a combined unit and saying, this is excellent. And maybe it is. But someone who has never touched the series, 24-year-old man, born way back when now, 2001. I never read this. I never knew about it. I got into the YouTube sphere. I got into the Star Wars Expanded Universe. And only in the last year or so, I've transitioned into finding out about this whole booktube thing where there's people left and right talking about books and stuff. And that's where I got a lot of my recommendations from. I mean, I've read nothing in terms of the fantasy genre outside of Malazan now. Joe Abercrombie and the Robin Hobb and Ursula Gwen and all these people, right? I have never touched them. So I have so much to explore. Of course, I'm behind. I'm not going to be big because I'm not talking about the newest and greatest thing. Brandon Sanderson, another one. But that's because I have so much to enjoy right now. But I didn't grow up with this, right? This wasn't a part of my childhood. So I don't have nostalgia for it. This is me, a grown adult, reading it for the first time. And so far, as I said, there's gold in almost every book. But it's, to me personally, surrounded by this kind of mediocrity. Mediocrity? No. Wait. I'm not the best. No, I think I said that right. I don't know. I think you know what I mean. But do I recommend it? I mean, did you enjoy the first three? I will say this is a massive step up. So if you enjoyed the first three, you'll definitely enjoy this one. If you didn't particularly love the first three, I'd still give this one a go. But also it comes to a point where, I say this, if you weren't like me, who watched a bunch of videos, non-spoiler wise, in the Wheel of Time, getting excited, bought them all. If you're just buying them one by one, You know, if you haven't finished, you know, book 4, or if you finish book 4 and you're like, I don't like it still, maybe don't continue. But I gotta, because I paid for it. And also, you know, I don't want to be, I don't want people to be like, well, you gave up on the series, so you don't get to have an opinion, you know? And it's like, that's fair, you know, because I don't have the full picture of the canvas. So once I do, I'll have the, I guess, the authority to properly voice my opinion. But this is just me being honest, you know. And again, it's not that it was bad by any means. It's solid. I just wish I was entranced with every page, and I'm just not particularly. Anyway, that's my rant. It's over. It's done. I want to love the series. I really, really do. And I don't mean any ill will. I know many people love the series. I don't want to take that away from you or make you upset with me. It's just my thoughts right now. And it's really hard to be super invested in this series for me. But we do have some major gems in this one. Before I get into spoilers, I mean, we get a lot more with Matt. Matt has kind of just been the friend, and he kind of really grows into his own in this one. Rand has been progressing very subtly, but we really see this sort of further Messiah thing going on with this book, which also give parallels to Dune with the ale, but we'll get to that in spoilers. And then Perrin has a lot of growth in here as well, a lot of tragedy as well. So I think all those beats hit. I mean, Nenevieh, Elaine, they're doing stuff as well. And, you know, there's good stuff in here. There's good stuff in here. But, yeah, I'm going to get into spoilers now. Sorry, I should say, my bad. Rand and Matt, there's a bunch of stuff that's going down, but essentially without getting into the minutia and spoilers, I mean, Rand and Matt are going on an adventure together to go to this place called Rudain. Perrin goes back to Two Rivers, where everything started back in the Eye of the World, because there are White Cloaks, the religious faction, that see Perrin as a dark friend, even though he's not. And so they go to Two Rivers to essentially kind of lure him out there. Meanwhile, Two Rivers is also being attacked by Trollocs, so you have all this going on, and Perrin has to go there to protect the people of Two Rivers, is essentially that plot thread. And Elaine and Nineveh, they go to... They do stuff. I don't know. I wasn't particularly invested in that section, so I kind of spaced, I'm going to be honest. But they're doing stuff too. And, yeah, I'm trying to think, what other plot threads are there? I think that's the gist of most of them. So, definitely interesting premises all around for those. So, if that sounds interesting, you should probably check it out. But I'm going to get into spoilers if you don't want that. There's the door. See you in a moment. Alrighty. We open up with Min, if you remember her, which is pretty cool. Gwen is worried about the girls, you know, Egwene, Nineveh, and his sister Elaine. Bornhold and Boyer return, though this is Bornhold's son, I think. Or I'm kind of confused on that. Because Bornhold's son's at the end of it. I don't know if Bornhold died in between. I got kind of lost on that front. But regardless, this is just a whole setup of the White Cloaks and how, while they may not be the Dark Friends, they may not be the malevolent evil faction, their misunderstanding of everything, their religious views as opposed to the truth, is going to cause conflict as they go to Two Rivers and cause problems. What I find interesting in this book in particular is all three characters kind of make they kind of have a wish to escape their destiny but can't, to a certain extent. At this point, Rand already kind of pushed back and forth for so long on that. He's pretty much certain that this is going to be his life now, but it's less so about not fulfilling it and more so just about the tragedy of him not being able to be happy, I suppose. You know what I mean? Because his life, his destiny doesn't allow for that. Perrin, to an extent, I mean, he never asked to be this wolf guy or anything, but it's a part of him now, and he can't really get rid of it. So he's also got to come to accept it. And then Matt especially. I mean, Matt he just wants to live his life, and all these forces from Rand to Perrin to everything else going on are kind of shoving him down a certain direction, which he didn't necessarily want. Um, I think early on in the book, one of the best sections was Perrin's talking about what's going on in Two Rivers. He's going to go. He has to protect them. Matt's like, I just want to gamble and play cards. And Perrin's like, you do what you got to do. And Matt's like, when you go there, can you check up on my family? Let them know I'm okay and make sure they remain safe. Perrin says, sure. And, Matt, as much as he wants to stay out of it, he realizes he can't, So I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, not again. It keeps happening. Why does it keep happening? Joya would like to use Mazarin Tame as a false dragon. So I forget the particular context, but I wrote this down because the girls, the trio girls, are talking to Moraine, and Moraine's getting a little upset. And so she goes, should I ever choose a man, it wouldn't be Lan. Which nobody asked her that, but she kind of shouted that out, which I thought was interesting, which makes, it seems to imply to me that she does, in fact, like Lan. Samuel is a new Forsaken that we're hearing about. I don't think we actually meet him in this book, but he's being set up as basically the new Bezabel or whatever. I don't really care, but he's a new one. I said ignorance is bliss. I honestly don't remember what I meant. I'm so sorry. The Forsaken want to use innocent nations and people to defeat Rand if he doesn't inspire them first. So, again, the world building is really good here. Part of the interesting thing is you have the Forsaken who kind of serve like Satan, right? Shaitan. Satan, of course, is the big bad. But in between that, you have a lot of nations, you have a lot of kingdoms and stuff, which maybe they believe in one thing, maybe they're atheistic, maybe they don't believe in something. But the point of the matter is they're not involved with the spiritual nature of the world, but so long as they can as long as the Forsaken can make certain nations and places be opposed to Rand, maybe just for political reasons or military reasons, not because of anything else, then they can win. So this is very much where you also get a bit of that Game of Thrones thing in there of, politicking and playing the game, because they don't have to have everybody have a religious reason for this, right? Or to be spiritually evil and against good. They just have to be confused. They just have to be mistaken, and I think that makes for a more interesting thing because it makes it so most of the people, in this series, I imagine down the line, aren't necessarily evil, right? They just have their own agendas, their own wants, their own desires. Because you only have 13 Forsaken, and then the big bad himself. So I think that's a bit of an interesting thing. And then I wrote Terangriel, which I just wrote that note there, which uses the one power instead of magnifying it. But I also have on my other phone, okay, we have, what I say? Oh, never mind, we haven't got there yet. We'll get to it. A quote I found interesting. Women want to be in love, but a man needs to be. I think there's a bit of truth to that. I think a woman tends to have more options in terms of, it's more of a thing of men are stronger when they're loved, if that makes sense. Like, a man could be strong on his own, but you give him something to fight for, you give him something to protect, and all of a sudden he's going to be a lot stronger than he ever had the capacity to be prior. A woman doesn't need a man to be strong in her own way, but she can choose a man. She can allow herself to not weaken necessarily, I think that'd be the wrong word, but to make herself vulnerable in order to feel that immense euphoria of being in love. Whereas a man, many men are on their own, right? And they're powerful and they're strong in their own right. But I'm pretty much guaranteed they'd be more powerful if they were, a father or a husband. Not that they have to be. I'm just saying, I think that's particularly my take on it. That's another thing with this series too, which is a bit frustrating for me in terms of people really talk up this series as being a series of equals, in terms of its portrayal of men and women. And in a sense, that's true, but in another sense, it kind of regresses. I mean, it gets to a point where most of the women feel very similar. They are a bit more calm, collected, and in a lot of scenarios, they can think through things while men get kind of angry. But at the same time, they act like girls. I mean, some of these characters are girls, so that can be made I can accept teenagers acting a certain way, but you have grown women that also act in a similar manner. If you've read these books, you know what I mean by that. And it comes a point where how progressive is this really if every woman is the same? It's the same sort of motivations, the same sort of desires. I guess that speaks to a kind of universal truth in general, but at the same time, it's not very nuanced in terms of men are going to act a certain way, and so are women. And that's pretty true with all the characters. I mean, they have their quirks. Matt's kind of sarcastic, kind of doesn't want to follow the rules. But at the end of the day, he still is a man. And Egwene to Moraine, one's a girl, one's a woman. Both, in certain circumstances, both act the same. I mean, should I ever choose a man, it wouldn't be Lan. It seems like a perfect example of a teenager getting flustered and upset and spouting out something she didn't need to. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bit of a conundrum there. But I did like the quote. I thought it was interesting. And I think there is a bit of truth in that. And then we have Egwene officially ends it with Rand. Her and Rand have this kind of like dream state discussion. I don't know. But they're officially like, we're just friends. And they kind of drop it like that. So, fair enough. More notes. Elaine and Rand have a cute scene together. One of the few moments where Rand just gets to be a teenager, which I think he still is at this point. So he doesn't get too many happy moments, it seems like, so far in the series. So this is one of the few. I wrote down this quote because I also really liked it. A wise ruler takes advice, but should never be seen taking it. I think that's an interesting way, or an interesting thing with that, because I think there's I think most leaders are terrible if they don't take advice, right? Because we're just human, we're fallible. It's always good to listen to other people that may be more, like tactics and stuff. Like if you're a political minded guy and this guy's like a military genius, it'd be in your best interest to listen to what he has to say instead of just thinking that you're the arbiter of truth and everything. So I think, but then also if you're taking advice all the time and everybody sees you taking advice, then it seems like you're indecisive, like you can't make decisions. So there's a balance to be had there. Selene, if you remember Selene, she's back from, the Great Hunt. I don't remember if she's in the third book, but she admits that she's a Forsaken and tries to convince Rand to join her. The Dark Lord himself would prefer that Rand join than being in opposition. And Selene also Was it that she's actually Lenfair? Was that what it's supposed to be? I kind of got, again, I get these things kind of mixed up and confused. But I know later on Lenfair basically says like I loved you in a previous life. Um, Another good scene when Rand and company gets attacked. Rand summons all this powerful power. He saves the day, but a little girl still ends up dead. And Rand feels this immense guilt for not being able to save everyone. And he actually he thinks about using his power to try to like revitalize her. And people are like, you can't do that. She's gone. She's dead. You know, and Rand feels so guilty for simply being human, for not being able to save everyone. And I think it's really sad. All right, it says refer to my phone. So I wrote down, this is when we start learning about the unseen world, the world of dreams. Teloran Riyadh. I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. But the unseen world, the world of dreams, not the dreams of ordinary people, though sometimes they touched Teloran Riyadh briefly. In dreams, it seemed as true as life because they were. In the unseen world, what happened was real in a strange way. Nothing that happened there affected what was. A door opened in the world of dreams would still be shut in the real world. A tree cut down there still stood here. Yet a woman could be killed there, or stilled. Strange. Barely began to describe it. In the unseen world, the whole world lay open, and maybe other worlds too. Any place was attainable, or at least its reflection in the world of dreams was. The weaves of the pattern could be read there, past, present, and future, by one who knew how, by a dreamer. There had not been a dreamer in the White Tower since Karanian Nadil, nearly 500 years ago. So the world of dreams is important. I do remember back in the day watching a Daniel Green video as he explains there's a soft magic system and there's more of a more concrete magic system. The concrete magic systems in the normal world of the Wheel of Time. Whereas in the world of dreams is where you get a bit more soft, where you don't have to have it really explained and it's a bit more mystical. So we're diving into that a little bit. Egwene meets Ames in the stream realm. And then refer to my phone again. Elaine had caught a flicker of Vivendi's eyes at the mention of the wise one's name. Do you know her, Ames? The ale woman's nod can only be described as reluctant. A wise one. A dream walker. Ames was far Deri's Mai, until she gave up the spear to go to Rudain. A maiden, Egwene exclaimed. So that's why no matter, she said she's at Rudain now. Do you know where this cold rock hold is? Avanda? I don't even know if I'm saying these names right. Of course, Cold Rock is Rorik's hold. Rorik is Amy's husband, or Ames' husband. I visit there sometimes, I used to. My sister-mother, Leanne, is sister-wife to Ames. So Logain, if you remember, is still around, parading as a false dragon, which very much gave me the theme of like an antichrist, like someone proclaiming to be this returned figure, but it is actually not. Mat and Perrin's discussion of destiny. As I said, I mentioned this before when Mat talked to Perrin about, checking on his family and everything. I said, for the first time in the series history for me, I felt a genuine emotion. So I thought that was nice. Fail, clearly, or Philael, I don't know how you pronounce these names, clearly likes Perrin. Perrin wants her safe, so he acts like a jerk in this section. I don't really understand why. I guess just because he's still a teenager. Rorak, who's an ale and kind of like clan leader, is a Chad dad. When I forget, I think it's Egwene, maybe it's Elaine. I don't remember, but it was an ale girl and her, and they were both fighting, complaining, and he just smacks them both down. Doesn't hit them. I just mean he kind of just talks them both down, and he basically tells his daughter to go to her room or whoever she's meant to be, and I don't. It was just I think out of this whole book, I think Rorik's my favorite addition so far to the cast. I think he's great. Mat is also going to go to Rudain with Perrin. I mean with Rand. Mat's prophecy is to marry the daughter of the of the 9 moons, to die and live again, once more, a past of what was, to give up half the light of the world to save the world. Will that be important later? Probably. We'll see. We get to see Tom again. And we learn he's a master of the game of houses. I just like thrones, because he's done some stuff, and I just think it's fun. And then Tom on the reliability of history and legend. So this is an interesting section where they talk about, or he's talking about, history and, these people believe this, these people believe that, and we have written down things, but, the truth is somewhere in the middle, most of the time with that stuff. Again, I wish I had a better memory, and I'm terrible with note taking, but it was a good scene. I don't know if this is important, but Rand names his horse Jadine, which means true finder. So I just wrote that down in case it mattered. It says refer to my phone again. So here we go. The name he meant was People the Dragon, a secret name for the ale. Only clan chiefs and wise ones knew or used it. Apparently seldom, and only with each other. For the rest, no one may shed the blood of another. No one may shed the blood of another. Also, we learn that Rand's mom was not Ale, but in fact, his father, his birth father, was. Also, Rand's mother's name was Shiel. But that's not her real name. But she was a maiden of the spear. Asadai Gitara Morso. Vale confesses her love for Perrin. And they also get married. That happens. Also, we learn that Perrin's family died by Trollocs, so that's really sad. It kind of like happens and it's done. But he basically, he lost everyone. I just wish I really felt that. And to be honest, I don't felt there was enough pathos in this book to warrant me feeling like I sympathize, right? I understand losing your family is gonna suck. Like if I lost my family today, I'd probably be pretty miserable. So like I understand it, but the book failed to make me feel it personally. I felt I had no empathy because I don't feel the book earned that from me. It felt more like a history book, when you read, oh, and this guy got shot in the head and that started World War I. Well, I don't know who this guy is, so I don't really care. It's just a summary of events. That's kind of what it felt like. So I don't mean to be harsh, but I feel bad for Perrin. I sympathize with his plight, but I don't feel that in my heart in the slightest. I don't feel the book that was such rich material they could have really dived into with Perrin, and I don't feel like they do that justice. So I'm left not feeling that bad about that. But Perrin, of course, does save the day in terms of Two Rivers, and he gets the White Cloaks to help stop the Trollocs and stuff, even though they don't like him. Rand gets this grand crescendo. Matt's having all this stuff happen with him. They had this prophecy about him earlier. He later on goes, and he was talking to these like snake people. Then goes on and talks to these like fox-looking people. Kind of confused on that. And the previous people only gave him, or he could ask questions and they give him answers, no matter how vague they were. And so he thought the same thing with these fox people, only they were granting wishes. So he got all of his wishes granted, and then he gets hung when he gets teleported back to Rudain, I guess, and then Matt has to cut him down. So there's a lot of interesting stuff with Matt that I don't understand yet because I haven't read all the books. I'm sure it'll make perfect sense if I read them all. But Rand has this very Dune ending moment, very much, like Fade Rotha versus Paul Atreides. He meets up with all the Ale clans and is essentially trying to say, I am your Messiah, I have come. But there's another guy, born of the Ale, who also claims to be the Messiah. They both have the same dragon tattoos. Like, this is where the book was, like, peaking hard. Like, it was so good. And so he starts saying, like, I've had these prophecies, I've had these visions as well. I am the one. But Rand, because all the clan leaders know this, but a lot of the common, just normal ale people don't know this. They see it as heresy, they see it as blasphemy, even though it's true. But Rand, to finally get the win, he says, listen, you guys are of the Leaf. Basically, even way back in book 1, I think, in Eye of the World, I think it was, we had Perrin for a time when he was hanging out with that wolf guy, meet up with these people called the Tinkers, who were basically like hippies. They were, pacifists. They just, they sing, they dance, they have a good time. The Tinkerers are an offshoot of the Ale. And so that was a big shock to everyone. It broke their world, right, in a sense. And but that's what made the clan leaders know that Rand was the one, so they go to accept him. And then they kind of just like, oh, we need a big bad at the end. Really, you could have ended the story there. But Lanfair mentions this guy, and so Rand teleports himself because he can just do that now. He goes and beats up this guy, but doesn't kill him. Gets him to not be influenced by the dark guy anymore. And then he's like, hey, can you teach me stuff? And then he's like, cool. And then the book just sort of ends. And I don't know. It was going so strong, and then it just kept going, and it just lost it at the end. It lost the momentum it had. Again, this is the thing. You could have done that at the beginning of the next book, but you had to shove it in here. Like it just did not. Like imagine if this was a movie. I know they made a TV show that I haven't watched and don't know if I'm going to, but I mean, it doesn't. Book fans didn't like it, right? But like, put that in a 2-hour film, like Dune Part 2, right? Like, wouldn't the clear ending be, that they all fall down like worshiping him, right? And then you begin whatever else you need to talk about in the next book. Like, that was like the grand crescendo climax of the book, and then they just keep going afterwards. I don't know. To me, I don't know. It was so good, and then it just kept going. By and large, was it a step up? I think this is the first book where I kind of like get the wheel of time, because before that it felt very generic. It felt very of its time. I don't know how best to put that. It felt very, oh, this is a 90s book. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just didn't hook me. I could say, at least with this, despite my gripes, despite what I said in my non-spoiler spot, like, there was good stuff in here, especially that last section with Rand and the Ale people. Maybe it's just because I like Dune and like the Fremen, and they very much give me that vibe. But I really liked them. And Matt's whole arc, I really liked. Perrin was meandering and annoying. I do like the synopsis of his plot there, with him going to Two Rivers, him dealing with the wolf stuff, him falling in love with Fael. All that stuff works on paper. Get it? But the execution of it just takes too long. All the plots do, but I felt like Matt's and Rand's were a bit quicker. And Matt quickly is becoming one of my favorites, and I hope he further gets developed moving forward, because he has the potential to be my favorite, and I hear he's a lot of people's favorites, so I might be one of them. We'll see as we continue. So despite how I made it sound, I did enjoy this book. I also didn't enjoy this book. It's a very mixed bag for me. And I want to just be ecstatic about one of these books. I want to say I loved it through and through, the whole thing. But I haven't been able to do that yet, and I can't lie to you about that. But am I excited to read the next book with you guys? No. No, I'm just kidding. I look forward to talking about the next book with you guys, and hopefully I'll be more positive next time. But no matter what, truly, honestly, I have an open mind. Please give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you loved about this book. Let me know some perspectives that maybe you have that can make me appreciate it more in the comment section below. And until next time, guys, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Till next time.